And it's away. You're running.
Ah, and it's telling
Live on
you.
YouTube, yes, says it.
You can buy yourself some jelly beans tomorrow for that, Patsy, and have a treat.
Oh, yeah, but I've got to get back to the screen now where Zoom is. I've lost you all.
Yeah, actually, we've lost you as well.
Yeah, where are you? You've gone blank.
There's a blob.
Right, where am I?
Fairness,
You don't know.
If anyone's wondering, it's a nightmare because if you have more than one user on a corporate YouTube account, you've got to, whenever you set the YouTube account up, you've got to put an email address in and a mobile phone number, which makes it actually quite tricky. So I feel a bit sorry for Patsy here, but I mean,
John needs
now,
letting in, Patsy. Not that I'm not trying to add to your stress. I've got some counsellors waiting to be let in.
No, but I only seem to be able to see you all on YouTube at the moment. I can't get back to. Hang on.
Well, you came and you went. We're not even chorus at this rate, are we?
Oh, I think there's a few waiting to.
There are people waiting to come in, Terry.
Terry.
Right.
I can't get in.
Good evening, Mr. McCann. How are you this evening?
David, I'm kind of stuck on YouTube. It won't bring me up as just normal Zoom.
You're on Zoom.
There, we can see you.
We can see you now.
You're on Zoom with us right now, Patsy.
But I'm absolutely tiny, and I can't admit anybody. I'm in the wrong place.
Ah.
And David, can you admit anybody?
No, because only the person who starts the meeting can do that.
Okay. I do apologise, everybody. I'm making a bit of a big zero of this.
It's okay. Yeah.
Oh, you've gone again, Patsy.
Is there a little camera at the bottom of your screen that you can click on that'll let you?
No, because I'm only in the YouTube channel. For whatever reason, I've lost the...
Okay.
Let's see if I can give control to someone else.
It won't allow me to... Right, it says there are 8 people now in the waiting room, but that's all it's telling me. I can't... Ah, here we go. Here we go.
Hey!
Oh, that looks better, doesn't it?
Certainly does.
Hello.
Good evening, everybody.
Hello.
Hello. Is Kathy in? Is Kathy?
Yes,
Oh, there's
saw
Kathy.
her.
Hello, Kathy. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Evening, James.
Well, that was fun because some of us were in and you lot were all out. We like that.
Oh, fine. I'll go then, shall I?
Oh. And Patsy actually kept her cool, very much so, considering she must have been very stressed doing that.
No big deal.
So who's missing?
Hayley.
Councillor Watts, Councillor Brown,
Councillor Illman.
Councillor Payne. Yeah, Councillor Illman, but we've got blanket apologies, haven't we?
Councillor Payne.
Yeah, he's not here. We
How
are
are we going
quorum
to
now.
wait?
Yeah, I was just going to say we are quorum now. I don't know if you want to start because it's 4 minutes past 7.
You're ever so quiet, Linda. Is it mine or?
That's unusual.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's you, Pat.
Oh, hang on a minute. I know what it was. It was Saturday night, wasn't it, Terry?
Well, we weren't making that much row.
Oh,
No. No. If you remember, we turned the radio down afterwards. There we go.
All right.
Yeah, back up to 100%. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. Right. Yes. Terry and I went to the Mayor of Malmesbury's ball on Saturday night. And
On Zoom.
on Zoom, yeah. And afterwards, they had a radio station on. And so we were listening to some really hip music for a while, weren't we?
We
Right.
were.
Good evening, everybody. That was the Mayor announcement.
oh God.
Right, okay. Right, let's get on with it then. Have we got any members of the public present who would like to participate tonight? Right. Hang on a minute. The other thing I haven't got is gallery view. Adrienne, yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I've just got a slight. Obviously, I would say the technical issues are a bit of a problem because I've got loads of music screening across me at the moment. So I hope that doesn't make any problems. So there's no members of the public who want to speak because I'm happy to ask my questions after any members of the public. No? Okay, fine.
Yeah. Can somebody tell me how to get gallery view? It's missing.
If you go into the top right-hand corner of your
Got it. Yeah. Right, thank you. Right,
Okay.
Yeah, just before
everybody.
Adrian starts, can I just say Sue's just sent an email
Yeah.
saying that she's unable to get in.
Oh, Sue Brown, yeah?
has.
Oh,
Sorry,
right.
Adrian.
No, it's not a problem, John. Not a problem at all.
There's Sue.
The more the merrier.
Yes. Yes, let's have a party.
There's nobody waiting to come in.
Well, Suze can't get in.
She's emailed David, so she's emailed everybody by the look of it.
We met
Actually,
everybody, yeah.
Yeah, I've got one as well.
No, there's nobody waiting to come in.
Oh, she on
Email
the
her
right
back the
meeting?
numbers, John. Make sure she's got the right numbers.
Yeah, she on the right meeting?
Well, I'm not in communication with her. I just saw the email. I
Oh, right.
wonder if one of the officers, one of the officers could give her a ring.
Yeah, I'll give her a ring. I'll switch my audio off and give her a ring.
Thanks,
Okay,
David.
thanks, David.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you mind if we carry on?
Not at all, Chair. Please.
Right, okay.
Okay.
Okay. Right, Adrienne.
Yeah, thanks very much, Chair. I contacted Linda on Friday, actually, because, of course, we used to have something called Standing Order 25, at which councillors could ask questions. And I looked through the standing orders, and it's not there anymore. So, I think new council, you need to think about Standing Order 25, because I think it's important that councillors can ask questions. But Linda said, don't worry, you can ask them in public session. So that's absolutely fine. So I've got some questions I'd like to ask. And I'm calling it fact-finding. So I've submitted these questions to Linda on Friday, as you would have done under Standing Order 25, so that she's had an opportunity to reply to them. So in a letter to the Melksham News, it was stated that the 9% initial budget rise was the work of a select group of councillors. Could you please explain the process that you went through to get this figure?
Yeah, the initial budget was prepared by me based on last year's outturn, current year's predicted expenditure, and any projects that council had requested were included in the budget for 21-22. So it was the baseline budget to really start the budget process. At that point, I'd had no input from any members because that's normal for the officer to prepare a sort of baseline budget to start the budget discussion. So it wasn't with any.
Sorry, Linda. Sorry. So the 9% was actually your budget, not any select group of councillors.
Yeah, it was a start of the 10, if you like, to get the ball rolling.
Thank you. So, did any concerned councillors contact you to discuss the budget rise because they thought it was too high in the current circumstances?
No, well, yes, yourself and Councillor Hubbard made some
And me.
suggestions. Okay.
So no Conservative councillor contacted you to actually to do anything. Thank you. So how was the budget reduced from 9% to 2.9%?
That was a process of several meetings. I think I did redraft it about 15 times. We were down to about, I think it was about 4.5%. The last budget that was discussed at the meeting. That budget was presented to council on the 25th of January, and at that meeting more savings were identified by members present, which took it down to the 2.9% that was set.
Thank you very much indeed. So it was mainly myself and Councillor Hubbard who were involved in that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can you confirm that the next stage of the CCTV consultations going ahead as agreed by last week's asset management meeting? The money is being taken out of this year's general reserve because it is in next year's budget. Therefore, we wanted to go ahead with it fairly quickly.
Yeah, the asset management recommendation and report from David suggested that we used the reserve to fund that initial work and repay the reserve in the new financial year. And that was all agreed by council on March, I believe.
Yeah, it was. I think Councillor Hubbard actually recommended it because I'm not on that committee. So Councillor Hubbard recommended it. So there is money in next year's budget for CCTV stage 2 and stage 3 that as identified by the CCTV working party.
Yeah, and also in lieu of hopefully getting some grant funding, possibly.
That's lovely. Thank you. In order to protect the budget and staff jobs, which councillor contacted you to look at the job retention scheme for the Assembly Hall?
You did, Councillor Westbrook, and officers had already started looking into whether the furlough scheme was lawful for the town council to pursue.
Thank you very much. I think that actually redresses some very incorrect facts that were printed in the Melksham Independent News. I note that the Melksham Independent News is here tonight. It would be very nice to have a correction made to the incorrect facts. Thank you very much for your help, Clark.
Right. Is this the correct place for questions, Linda?
If members want to ask questions, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I think standing order need to be.
John and then Vanessa.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, I was just finding the unmute button. Two things. The first one, very briefly, I'm not sure if you've seen, Martin Payne has also emailed saying he's unable to connect to the meeting. My other question was, could we get an update? I was expecting it to have been because I saw it was on the agenda for the Chair's meeting, and I thought the Chair's meetings were meetings where you talked about the agenda that was coming to full council. And I saw that on the Chair's meeting was an update on the website. The website's not on the agenda this evening. I'm aware the Town Council has now spent, I think, £10,500 on the new website. Can you let us know when it is, or can somebody let us know when it is that we're actually going to see the product of that £10,500?
Patsy's probably the best one to answer that because she's been working on it with Jeff.
Okay, thank you, Patsy.
We were hoping that it would be launched today. I spent a lot of time on it, not the weekend just gone, the weekend before. It was then passed over to Jeff. Unfortunately, Jeff had an accident and wasn't able to do any work on it last week. He is finalising his work on it at the moment. We have got our IT guy linking up our OneDrive folder with the website. Once we have done that, we can populate the website with everything we want to populate it with. It is then going to go through the website provider's system to make sure that it's compatible for all devices, not just laptops, so all sorts of mobile phones, etc. That will take a couple of days. Once we've done that, it can then be launched as a live product. We are, depending on how quickly Jeff can do his bit, we are optimistic well, it will certainly be up and running by the end of the month, hopefully by early next week.
Thank you, Patsy. Vanessa, you had something to say?
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. Yes, I did. I just wanted to, just 2 minutes of everybody's time, more than anything else, just to take this opportunity. I know it's our last council meeting of the year, and I guess for this particular administration. And I wanted to take the opportunity, if I could, Chair, to thank the current group of councillors for the countless hours of hard work and effort that has really gone into making such a positive impact on Melksham. I'm sure it totals in excess of thousands and thousands of hours worth of work by this current administration. And of course, a lot of that is attributed to I think, the mayoral leadership of our mayors that we've had over the past 4 years. So Councillor Westbrook, Councillor Hubbard and Councillor Aves, obviously with support from the deputy mayors as well. I think this council has achieved so much in the past 4 years, and I think it's really fair to say that the bar really has been raised in terms of what a good, proactive and ambitious council looks like. And I'm really, really very much looking forward to seeing that standard continue with the new administration. And of course, Joe, you know, I know we always don't agree on certain aspects, but I'd very much just like to pass on my personal gratitude to each councillor for everything that that you've all done for our town. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fiorelli. Thank you for your a lovely way of putting things as well. Very nice. Now, can we go back to the beginning of the agenda, because I neglected to ask for any apologies. I think we've only got Councillor Illman, haven't we?
We haven't opened the meeting yet.
Oh, haven't we? Right. Well, I'd like to open the meeting then.
Is there no more public participation?
I don't think so. No, I don't think there's anybody else. Right. Okay. Item 1. Apologies.
Councillor Illman.
What happened to Sue? Did she get into the meeting?
Can't see her.
We've had both Sue and Martin report that they're unable to connect into the meeting this evening.
Yeah,
I hate to get technical, Chair, but our virtual meeting protocol does state that councillors have the right to attend, and they do need to be able to attend in order for the meeting to continue.
They're not waiting to access the meeting, I'm afraid.
I know, but they've both notified us in other ways that they are trying to access the meeting.
David, did you get hold of Sue?
yes, I did. I had a word with her and asked her to come out of Zoom and go back in. And I think her problem is that Zoom is overdue an update on her device, and it's going through that. Well, I just thought she should have been there by now, to be honest with you.
So should we
David,
wait
would you be
or?
able to try Martin as well?
Mm.
I haven't
Martin's,
got the contact
Martin's
details.
never had any problems getting on before. But Sue has, I know, from time to time. So should we wait, Linda?
I need to check the protocol.
Protocol is that, yeah, if you say you can't get on. The
Yeah.
problem with Martin is, of course, that I don't think we've got any contact details for him.
Should I tell a joke in the meantime?
No.
No.
That was a decided no.
I've tried the mobile number I have for Martin, but it's just going straight to answer phone.
Would it be possible to email him back? I haven't received the email from him, so.
He just replied "or" to the email that Sue had sent. So,
Which I haven't seen either.
I think that should probably be David or Linda who.
Right. What are we proposing to ask Martin? I'll email him just to see what his intentions are this evening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What issue is he having connecting, and does he want to ask for the meeting to be postponed because he can't connect?
Yeah. Okay.
There's some really important decisions to take tonight.
Yes.
Two
Yeah, sorry,
very
Chair.
important
I hate to
ones.
get technical, but it is important. But
I appreciate that, Councillor Fiorelli, but there's
Yeah.
two incredibly important decisions to take.
well, that's what I'm saying. It's
That's it,
important
that's
that
it.
all councillors have the opportunity to attend.
So
Perhaps it's got something.
Sue was actually trying to join the ECDEV meeting,
Yeah, right.
which might explain why she wasn't getting in.
Is she on now? Where is she?
And then Sue tried to join the HR subcommittee meeting, so she's still not actually joined the correct meeting.
Right, I'll send her the link.
Joe, did you have something to ask?
It wasn't a question, more just to come back on Adrienne, what you said there about an apology in the Melksham News. In terms of what I think you're alluding to, the letter I think you're alluding to, your questions. If councillors send us a letter, we will print that letter as long as it doesn't break certain rules and regulations around hate speech and bigotry and so on and so forth. No, we are not the sole judge of the facts, and everyone's opinions are different, and that, that's how the news works. But we are more than happy to take letters in reply and print those letters in reply, stating the facts that you believe are correct. You work in a council, and much like in any kind of politics, the facts are what one person says and not always what the other person says, and we are not the sole arbiter and judge of those facts. So we can't always be held to account. We print what is in the public interest. If something is sent into us that we believe is in the public interest, we will print that. And I feel it's quite difficult for you to sort of hold us to account, suggesting that you want apologies for things that are incorrect. We are not the person saying those things that are incorrect. We are printing what another councillor has said, and you would need to take that up with them and not with us. Okay, and that's kind of where I will leave the matter. I'm not going to go into all the details surrounding that. Okay, but thank you for giving the opportunity to respond. Very kind.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Any news on Sue yet? Would it be crossing too many lines if we made a start, Linda?
I'm just finding the link to send to her.
Something's happening.
Oh,
All the pictures have moved.
Chair, if I may, I've sent an email to Councillor Payne, and we'll see what response comes back. And I've asked him for his preference, but also suggested, like Councillor Brown, he comes out of Zoom and comes back in and sees if he can access that way. I suspect the problems are around the update to Zoom, which is taking time, that people are not allowing time to complete, at a guess.
Yeah, thank you, David.
David, Councillor Brown was actually trying to access the wrong meeting. She tried to access the ECDEV one and the HR subcommittee one.
Right, okay.
And hasn't yet popped up as trying to access the full council meeting.
Right, well, time is getting on, and I really think we ought to make a start, so I'm going to move on.
Sorry, Chair, we can't move on. They've indicated that they want to attend the meeting. They have the right to do so. If they're having technical issues and they can't get on, then you can't just go ahead.
I've sent Sue Brown the link, and it's gone to her email address and her husband's email address. I understand totally what you're saying, Councillor Fiorelli, but there are two incredibly important KGV decisions that need to be taken tonight. Actually, one of them is a potential health and safety implication, and I think we would be negligent in our duty not to take
Yep.
that.
Can we take advice then from the clerk as to whether or not what can we do tonight that we absolutely need to do, and do we need to postpone the rest, or can we just go ahead?
You can start the meeting. I've just reread the protocol, and it doesn't say that members who can't get in for technical issues means that the meeting is stopped or rearranged. We're doing everything we can to help them get into the meeting, and we can recap, you know, at some point about what decisions were made.
Mm-hmm.
But I have no issue going ahead because the council is quorate.
Okay.
Good, right.
Councillor Brown is just joining.
Oh, thank goodness for
She
that.
obviously got my link.
Oh.
Where is she?
Yeah.
It says connecting.
She's connecting.
David, might I ask you send the link again to Martin?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Oh, lovely. She's.
So can you hear us? Oh,
she's still connecting to audio. Ah, I think she is there. Sue, can you hear us?
Hey!
Yes.
Oh, thank goodness. You don't know how pleased.
Hello, Sue.
Hi, Sue.
Right, okay, let's move on. We've done apologies. Have we done declarations of interest? I can't remember. Are there any declarations of interest from anybody present?
I think we've all lost interest, Jack.
I know, yes. Right, okay, moving on. Minutes, pages 1 to 8, to confirm as a correct record the minutes of the previous full town council meeting held on the 1st of March. Does anybody have any issue with anything in those minutes? Thank goodness for that. I'll propose that we accept them. Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Terry. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Right, the town mayor's announcements. I've only got one, and it's that a previous mayor, whose name is Maureen Weston, recently died. Some of you, one or two of you here might remember her. It was in 1977 that she was mayor. I thought perhaps Richard might remember her. Do you remember her, Richard?
Yes, I remember Maureen very well. She served the council for many years.
And things that Duckworth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Now Linda has suggested, although we can't all go to the funeral.
Pat, sorry.
No.
I don't want to make that public because I don't want a massive crowd. Right. I would email Karen arrangements because I'm in touch with her son.
Right.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Right. We'll speak about that privately later then. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Where are we? I lost myself again. Anyway, just to announce that this lady has died and that her funeral is on in the next week or so. Right. Police report. Is it James?
Yes.
Sorry to keep waiting for so long, James.
No, quite all right. I'll try and keep my bit down as well from time to time. Crime figures, I think with the lockdown as it is, we've seen about a 25% drop in the total number of reports. We've had 206 crimes in the last 3 months compared to 299 in the quarter before that. Burglary is down to 5 offences over the last quarter from 14, in part due to somebody being moved on. 30 incidents of antisocial behaviour in the last quarter. That's the same as it was in the previous. In terms of local priorities for the time being, we've got COVID is the first one. We're seeing more than doubling of incidents over the last month or so. We're seeing more house parties, more kids gathering in groups and running around the town. So we are focusing on just trying to address those, educate them, visit parents and that sort of thing. That's taken up lots of time just to try and stop stop the R rate being at risk of increasing. Next local priority is speeding. We're focusing on Beanacre Village itself, Spa Road, Snowbury Lane, Sandridge Road. Those are the ones we get the most complaints about, and those are the ones where we've seen evidence of speeding as well. So that's getting extra focus. We've been concentrating on repeat offenders a lot more. So saving names, because most of them are Wales. I'll just refer to them in terms of how prolific they are. The one that was at the top, in the top spot, has been moved into a more appropriate care placement. That's the reason the burglaries are down. Number 2 and 3 are domestics. I won't discuss those. The 4th one has been returned to prison, and the 5th is being charged with 2 more offences next week to go to court. So we're really hammering our top 10 offenders in terms of volume and severity. As a last point, I know a rumour got out that Melksham Police, the neighbourhood team, was meant to be moving over to Devizes, or to sit under the management of the Devizes team instead of Trowbridge. That was released prematurely. It is not happening. Nothing is changing. Jill Hughes is still going to be our inspector. Our emergency response will still come out of the teams at Trowbridge and Melksham, and the idea of moving to Devizes has been stopped.
Thank you, James. Anybody got any questions? John? And then Adrienne.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted, through you, please, James, I came home, I think, no, my wife came home a couple of Sundays or Saturdays ago and said to me, what's the massive police operation outside? And when I peered out my window, I think there was 3 police cars there at that point and a whole team of officers. And they were doing one of their speed checks and vehicle checks on Snowbury Lane. And I just want to pass on my compliments for that. I thought that they were incredibly professional in how they were doing that. I know they pulled over a large number of vehicles. And I think I did pop out and say hello at one point, and they said that they were just ticketing everybody that day. And I think they got a good haul. So I think it's really good that this is happening. Thank you very much for that. I can't remember if I heard it on the list of roads that you were saying then, but if it's not, Spa Road desperately needs some attention as well.
I did Spa Road the other day.
Excellent. But I thought it was really exceptional, and I thought the way they managed it, they were pulling people off the road, they were doing it really well, and fantastic job. Well done.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. That was the brainchild of Jen Miller, one of my new PCs, who's just come over from Response. It's nice to hear good feedback straight away that she's settled in, doing well.
Right. Who was next? And then Vanessa.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, this probably needs Linda to answer the first question and then the second bit to James. Linda, when are we opening the skateboard park? When's the law allowing us to actually open the skateboard park?
I think it's the 12th of April when outdoor gyms can open.
Yeah. I mean, James, I feel incredibly sorry for the teenagers. I think it's a really tough deal, actually, to not be allowed to use the skateboard park. And there were an awful lot of young people in there over the weekend. I mean, not misbehaving in any way at all. And I just wondered how you were responding to that at the moment. I think the skateboard park should be open. I think the outdoor gym equipment should be open. That's obviously something which we can't do, but just how are you managing that situation? Because of course you've got hundreds of kids up at the top end with the new play equipment.
Yeah, kids, it's a bit of a different one. You can't issue fixed penalty notices to under 18s. So the option, whilst they can still commit an offence by breaching something, the thought of the team that are organising and sort of orchestrating the response to all things COVID, they are of the opinion that it would be disproportionate to send.
I agree.
Children straight to court, whereas I have a ticket. So at the moment, it's still focusing on engagement and explanation and that sort of thing. If they are minding their own business, they're moved along or reminded of what they should be doing. Certainly around the non-enforceable guidance, the things like social distancing. So they are getting that approach. It's if and only if they are engaged in crime and ASB that they're starting to see a different response, but that's separate to COVID. That's the
No, that's really helpful. I mean, as I say, I am not in favour of it being closed. I am not in. I think it's wrong that the skateboard park is closed, but it's not anything to do with town council. So I was just wondering how you were managing the situation. I would not be expecting you to be doing anything heavy-handed in any way, shape or form. But
very much softly with that sort of thing. Without
and are you actually doing that, or are you? Sorry, I don't want to say are you ignoring it, but you know what I mean.
It naturally builds itself into the patrols that are happening anyway.
Yeah.
But it's not a priority location in terms of COVID stuff. There is a set list based on the intelligence picture of places that the Op Quantum team are asking us to patrol. That's not on that list. That's just, it's an area because of the other crime and ASB issues that it's an area that gets a bit of general attention, but we're more focused on the private space indoor dwellings sort of gatherings.
That's absolutely fine, James. I was just interested in how it was being managed, and roll on the 8th, April the 12th, when the kids will be allowed to use it.
Yeah.
Thank you. If I could, just on this point, I just wanted to clarify the current government guidance is that outdoor skate parks should be able to reopen on the 29th of March and indoor skate parks on the 12th
thank
of
you,
April.
John.
But the announcement confirming the details is anticipated around the 22nd of March.
Thank you very much. That would be
today.
That's fantastic if we can open it even sooner.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Right, before we
solves the problem, James.
Yeah, thank you. Before we move on to Vanessa, welcome, Martin. Nice to see you. Right, Vanessa.
Yes, thank you, Chair. James. Oh, you're right, Pat.
Yeah, it's just Martin. He was speaking, but he's still on mute.
Martin, you're on mute.
He's still on mute.
Yeah.
Is that? Can you hear me?
Yes,
we can.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you.
Right. Okay, Vanessa, off you go.
Yes, James, thank you so much for popping on. And just sort of going back to what John was talking about with the speeding, especially along Sandridge Road, the biggest concern that I have, I live on the corner of Forest and Sandridge. And as you know, there's that double roundabout. And we know that people speed along there. And I know that that people have been caught. But the biggest thing that I see is the fact that people speed along and completely ignore the fact that there's a roundabout there. And, you know, every day there's a near miss, someone coming out of Forest, trying to turn right onto Lowbourne, with someone coming in the direction from, you know, sort of that top end of Sandridge Road, and just, you know, almost ploughing into them. Is that an increasing issue that you're seeing, those near misses, or have there been any actual incidents?
Not that I'm aware of off the top of my head. I'm not aware of that roundabout, but certainly there are no hotspots. I looked at collision data, and the reports of near misses would probably go under road-related incidents, and there aren't any hotspots that have formed over anywhere in fact the entirety of West. So there's certainly nothing in Melksham like that. But I think you've got a point. Definitely, anecdotally, I've seen it myself. It's just where we would manage to site ourselves to deal with any speeding there. It's a bit of a tricky place because you need a long straight and you need somewhere to pull people in.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Okay. I'm going to have a look at that site there and see if it would be suitable for some speed enforcement.
Yeah, thank you, James. Right, has anybody else got any questions, or shall we move on? Right, okay, James, you'd be lovely to, if you would like to stay, but we quite understand if you want to go.
That's fine. I need to get something to eat, so I'm going to leave you all to it. I'll see you next time.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Cheers,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, reports from unitary councillors. To note, there is only actually one from you, John. Do you want to add anything to it? I hope not, in view of the time.
Subtle, Chair, subtle.
Right, I take it you don't then. Good, lovely, thank you. Moving on to the accounts, pages 11 to 46, note the attached accounts reports. First one, payments. To approve the attached payments. Anybody got any issue with any of them? No. Right, I propose that we approve the attached payments. Anybody going to second that? Thank you, Jeff. And all in favour? Lovely, done. 7.2, monthly financial statement. To note the monthly financial statement. Linda, is there anything we need to note, especially in it?
No, I have done a full audit of the nominal ledger, and there are some miscodings that are going to be sorted out, and a question from Councillor Sankey about the electricity supply in the Assembly Hall. I've answered that as best we can, and on the back of that, I've suggested that we do a full audit of our utility suppliers to make sure we're getting best value for money. It appears that meter readings have not been taken to the Assembly Hall for some time, and they are actually billing us based on previous usage, which is really, it's not this year. So,
Yeah. Is that okay with you, Mike? Right, thank you. Okay, we note that one. Detailed income and expenditure report January, February 2021. To note the report, anybody got any issues with anything in that? No, I'm seeing shaking heads. To note then, and 7.4, the budget review. Council to note that the Town Clerk and RFO will carry out a budget review in the first quarter of the new financial year to establish whether some of the projects put on temporary hold can indeed be restarted. Any comments, Linda?
No, just to let members know that it is going to be constantly under review.
Thank you.
Sorry, Chair.
Right.
Chair.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Can I just quickly come in on the budget? More just a reminder for whoever's on the new council, remember that we did talk about having a consultation on the budget moving forward. I know we only proposed it really for last year. Didn't happen, that's okay. But it'd be great if that could continue to happen year in, year out.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Fiorelli. Item 8, transfer of the Town Council's bank accounts. I think Patsy is going to talk to us about this one.
I feel that the report is fairly self-explanatory. Obviously, if members have got any questions, I'm happy to answer questions.
Right, we've got Mike and Jeff. Okay.
And John.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Chair, as Patsy says, I think the report is fairly self-explanatory, and I would just like to move that we go along with the recommendations.
Right, thank you. Right, Jeff, you wanted to speak?
I'm just concerned, are we talking about closing both the co-op and the Lloyd's account?
Not the Lloyd's account at this stage, just the co-op account at this stage.
No, that's okay then, because I was a bit worried about, not having the local bank next door.
Okay, and John?
Thank you, Chair. My question is about the costs. I see that we've got a detail here that it's £6 per month plus 15 pence per individual debit and credit transaction. My understanding is at the moment we enjoy free banking with our current arrangements. What I haven't seen on this report is anything that indicates what the cost to the council will be for moving this over lock, stock and barrel and having everything go through the new Unitary Trust Bank. I do recognise that there may be some savings for us in terms of the amount of officer time that's required to manage things if it's all consolidated. But there's nothing here that indicates to me, I don't know how many transactions per month we have through the bank account. What's this going to add up to? What's the cost to the council going to be? Because 15 pence per transaction, that could start adding up.
Yeah.
If you're not careful. Has any work been done to identify what the anticipated cost is in a comparative of our current costs? Am I right that we've currently got free banking?
Adrienne wants to speak after Patsy.
For Patsy to reply.
Yeah.
The banking at the moment is free. The problem we have is that we are unable to make BACS transfers or use internet banking with the co-op, and it's actually causing problems with running the finances of the council, because we end up with delays for our suppliers in making payment to them, and the dual auth of payments is also rather difficult. So, and yes, I haven't costed it out.
Right, okay.
Can I come in and back Patsy up, please, on the use of the Co-op Bank? As somebody who goes in every month, virtually, over the last 4 years to sign the Co-op Bank account things off, they are appalling. They are absolutely appalling as the bank. I've been on the phone, because I'm one of the authorised signatories, they have to speak to me. I've been on the phone for hours to them, and you get nowhere. We've sent them all the documentation that they ask for, and 6 months later they say they haven't received it, and you send it off again. So I do appreciate what John is saying, that there might be an increase, but free banking is no good if it doesn't deliver what the town council needs. And I honestly, I cannot, Jeff will agree with me on this totally as well. I cannot wait for the town council to get rid of the Co-op Bank. They are really, really bad at serving us.
Okay, right. Jeff, do you want to say anything here?
Yeah, I agree with Adrian, because I mean, it isn't even belong to the Co-op anymore. It belongs to somebody else, doesn't it? So it's not. I don't think we get any good service from them at all.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Right. Okay. So Mike proposed it. I'll second it. All those in favour? Great. Lovely. Thank you, everyone. Right. Committee minutes. Fine. How do we normally do this? We just pass them all and then go back through them.
Some recommendations that council needs to consider. First one is on the finance and admin, where we're looking at grant funding policy.
Yep.
Delegating authorities to the finance and admin committee to approve the normal grants on a rolling basis at each of its meetings.
Yeah, Vanessa.
Yeah, thanks, Jo. Do you want me to talk on this a little bit? And also, John, because this was, it's going to be a different way in which we'll be doing the grants moving forward. Has everybody had a chance to have a read of the proposed policy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Were there any questions about how it's going to work? John, do you want to talk a bit about it, because it was kind of your idea?
It came from officers.
No, your idea around splitting the smaller grants into quarterly, kind of like what the area board do.
That was a recommendation from Linda. I wholeheartedly supported it, but that was I think it was from Linda.
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly support, but what I did say and what I recommended that we did was that the proposal was that we had a year-round grant scheme, so it's not annual grants being issued, but I do beg your pardon, people could apply for grants at any point during the year. The recommendation that I made, and that I was pleased that council accepted, was that we would cap each quarter's potential spend on grants to 25% of the budget, so that the council didn't give away all its grant funding in the first year. Or in the first quarter, sorry.
Yeah.
So that you could carry money over from quarter one to quarter two, and quarter two to quarter three, etc. But you couldn't spend quarter two money in quarter one. And that would help ensure that there was adequate funds available for groups and organisations to use throughout the year. There was no requirement for the council to give away the money, but it couldn't spend money all at the beginning and then nothing else.
Yes, thank you, John.
Well, I think that this has been a long time coming. Every year when we get to the grants application, we say, last year we said we were going to review it. And this review has taken place. I think it will take a while for the people who apply for grants to get used to this new way of doing it. But I think it's giving clarity to the town. So I applaud it.
Yeah. Vanessa?
Yeah, so just to clarify, the big grants, the red circle grants, will still be annually, and and that is to ensure that those particular organisations can still plan, because there's a lot of planning that they do in order to make sure they've got the correct finances. So things like Young Melksham or Transworld, all those kinds of organisations, and it's really the smaller grants that will almost be drip feeding throughout the year, so that they don't have to wait for a yearly process to get their hands on, say, a few £100s. So I thought it was a fantastic idea, and obviously it's been brought to this council, but I'd like to hear what everybody else has to think.
Sue?
Thank you, Chair. Just a question, really. I have read this report and it seems very fair to me. One of the things I wondered, though, obviously I've only been on the council for 2 years, but the first year at our annual town meeting, some recipients actually came and talked to us about how important their grant had been to them and what they'd done with the money and what they'd achieved. And I really like that aspect of grant giving. But I do appreciate there's an awful lot of grants that you'll be giving throughout the year. But I just wondered if there was any possibility, because I couldn't see a mechanism for it, for people to actually come back to the council and say, this is what we did, because this is the good news, this is the good point. So I think we seem to have lost that, but could we consider giving groups the opportunity to return? And also, when you've got younger people involved, they can come and speak to as well, so it's ownership.
Yeah, brilliant.
That's
I love that.
Yeah, you're right, Sue. So if we could make a note of that, and we'll tackle that one next time round, those of us that are...
Pat John's got his hand up for that one, and so does Linda.
Yeah, John, and then Linda.
Well, my question that I was going to ask on this was, and my apologies, because I thought of this straight after the meeting last time and thought, must email Linda, and then never did. On page 61, section 2, process, says there are 3 grant types. Now, we've been through this a few times in the past. We give the room hire grants and the regular grants. And there's always the confusion about what's the pot of money that we have to give away. Does room hire grants come out of that pot of money or not? And the challenge, of course, is that if you give the room away for free, it might have if someone was paying full whack for it, one cost that isn't really costing us that, but there is still a cost to giving a facility away for free, and it's how we are accounting for that in our total grant budget. And I don't quite understand from how it is, how that is accounted for, but hopefully Linda will be able to explain that to me. If you can use words of one syllable to help me tonight, Linda, I'd really appreciate it.
Councillor Brown's point, that was always my intention, that groups would be asked to present at the annual meeting so they can share what they've spent funding on. In fact, I think if it's not, I can't remember now, whether it's in the application, it will be a requirement. So
great.
Applying for a grant will know that they may be required to come and present at the annual meeting how they've spent their grant.
I didn't see it, Linda, in the application.
Have a look. Rolling grants, what we will do is we will do a big splash well before each finance meeting, saying that the town council will be considering grants at its finance meeting on this date. Following the finance meeting, when grants have been awarded, we'll do another publicity. So this month we've agreed these grants. So we've got positive news going regularly into the press. It will take a while, as Councillor Welsh said, about people to get their heads around. It's not a one yearly thing. If it's rolling, it means that there's more opportunities. So a club that starts or thinks, oh, I'd love to do that. Oh, it's October, I've missed the grant funds from the town council. It gives, you've got a bit more time to take, so groups won't miss out. Officers can also support groups if they put an application in and it isn't successful, if it's on points that we can help them with or divert them to other grant funding opportunities. So that will happen. As far as room hire, there will be a virement from the grant budget to either the Assembly Hall income or the Town Hall income. And I think that's really important from a accounting point of view, because no room is free. There are costs.
That was the point.
They're on eSource, so it will show quite clearly that someone's hired the town hall, town council said it can hire it, and they've got a grant towards the hire fee. No money will change hands. They will get, I hate calling it free use because it isn't, but they get a grant to use the town hall, and that money will be transferred to the income for whichever respective facility they have the grant for.
Yeah, okay. Right, so sorry. So we've did I have somebody
I'll propose it, Chair.
Yeah, I'll second it. So to adopt the new grant funding policy and to delegate authority to FinAd to approve smaller grants at each meeting. Right, okay, all those in favour of that? Lovely, thank you very much. Right, on the Dev Planning Committee, has anybody got any issue with any of those?
Yeah.
No? Okay, so I'll propose that we accept those. Thank you, Adrian, for seconding. All those in favour? Lovely, thank you.
I think we're only noting them, aren't we?
Yeah, you're just receiving them, yes.
Oh, all right, oh, great, okay. Community Development Committee to receive the minutes of the meeting. Anybody got anything about any of those? No. Subcommittee minutes. King George, to receive the minutes of King George. Sorry?
HR ones first.
No, King George first.
Not on mine.
King George first.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, okay, so and consider the recommendation of the appointment of the contractor to operate the Cricketers Cafe. Do we need to discuss that?
Yes, I need a resolution.
Okay.
From King George to appoint the successful tenderer to operate the cafe.
Yeah, right. I've got Adrienne and I've got Vanessa.
Well, I'm just happy to propose that we appoint the successful tenderer. Having gone through the tender process, it's great that we've got a very good contractor to do the job.
Yeah, great. And then I've got Vanessa, then Terry, and then John.
Oh no, I was just going to second it.
Okay, right, thanks. Terry? Oh, right, John?
Well, all I was going to ask was, are we able to, or does this have to be closed session to understand what, because most of us haven't seen this tender, we don't know who else was put forward. I have no problem with the recommendation, but it would be quite nice to know what it is that's what we are being asked to agree to.
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen any details of what we're being asked to agree to. It's not been circulated to members.
Okay, Linda will
I don't know what I'm voting for.
Right, it was a very comprehensive tender. 5 expressions of interest were received. Only 1 returned their tender. And it was Tony Hickman from Alice Park who presented to council last year.
Right.
He gave a very good response to the tender, answered all the questions. Hugh and I met him today to go over the questions again. And whilst we were walking around the park, a few people came up to him because he had his Alice Park shirt on and said, "Oh, are you going to be operating the cafe?" And he was saying, "Well, I hope so." And they were thrilled. I have no hesitation in recommending him from the meeting of the King George subcommittee where it was recommended to council, but I'm more than happy to share the tender and the response with all members.
Right.
I think, Chair, all I'm asking is we're being asked to agree to the tender this evening. What I'm not aware of is, does this tender mean that the successful applicant is paying us for the right to use it? Are we paying them for the right to use it? Are we underwriting any costs? Are we making any, there's no indication to us of the financial implications.
Right, I think Adrienne can answer that one, John.
Apologies, it should have been.
Sorry, it was actually within the remit of the KGV group to do it, John. That was actually agreed and went through on the last set of minutes. But all the KGV group have looked at that. We've taken the advice from the town clerk and from the amenities manager. That has all been dealt with in the tender. The King George V group are happy that that is correct. All we are doing is bringing this to council's attention for ratification.
I'm sorry, Chair, with respect, either the matter is delegated to KGV to make the decision, in which case it doesn't need to come back to us, or it needs to come back to us, in which case when we ratify it, we're agreeing with the decision made, but we're agreeing to the decision blind because we haven't seen it. And I it's just that we're going to be asked to vote to say for something, and I have no idea what the implications of what we're being asked to vote for are. I can understand it might be a commercial arrangement that needs to be done in part 2. I'd absolutely accept that, but it's asking us to vote for something without any idea of what the financial implications or the legal obligations of the council are.
I think at this stage, John, all we're doing is informing the council that we have accepted or made this recommendation for this guy to do it. I believe Linda will correct me that between her and Hugh and the finance and the committee, the KGV committee, those details are yet to be sorted out. Is that correct, Linda?
Well, we've talked about they will be paying rent to the town council. They will be investing quite a sum of money to bring the cafe into a state where it can be operated as a cafe. There will be no financial investment from the town council apart from to put the guttering right and do a few roof repairs. I'm really sorry. It should have been included in the agenda, and I don't know why it's not.
Vanessa?
I was just going to say, are we able to talk about the details now, or does it have to be done in part 2?
I think the commercial details should be done in part 2.
Yeah.
Should we move this one down the agenda then?
Yeah, I think so. Is that okay, John?
Yeah, well, I mean, my biggest concern was whether there was financial risk to the council. If the clerk is telling me there is no financial risk to the council and there is no legal risk to the council, then you know, but it is. I'm sorry to be a pain in the neck on this, but you know, it is.
No, you're right.
Issue, and we're doing it blind.
No.
I appreciate if it wasn't that I know that there is a degree of urgency in actually agreeing this, I would actually be saying I think we need to defer the item, but a deferment would, I think, cause more trouble, and I'm not sure that would be necessarily a beneficial thing to do. But I am really uncomfortable that we're doing this without the relevant information in front of us.
Yeah. So, Chair, should we just go through it in detail in part 2?
In part 2, yes. We'll do it then. Okay. Right, Adrienne?
Linda, do you want to bring the other issue up on KGV?
Yes, there's a rather urgent matter come about from the installation of the play equipment at King George. Pathway that's been fitted is not, well, it might be unfair to say it's not fit for purpose, but it's a loose gravel is on the top. I've been in contact, and Hugh has been in contact with the suppliers, and we are trying to sort out a way it can be improved. I've taken issue about the small stones that are being, pushed around all over the play area and the damage it could cause to the roundabout, which Wicksteed have taken on board. Sadly, the contractor for Wicksteed is on furlough at the moment, but he's going to get one of his team to get back to me about that point. In the absence of any sort of confirmation from Wicksteed that they're going to do anything, and looking at the tender, what they have provided is what was in the tender, but it doesn't look like the King George subcommittee thought it was going to look. Even Steve Applin did question it. They have pounded it, I don't know, to compacted. Yeah. Wicksteed is suggesting that it will dissipate, but I don't think we can wait, because there's also the splash pad. Small stones could get dragged into the splash pad. We've had a quotation to put a resin bonded pathway in. The initial quotation was 8,000. We've now got that down to 5, because we've gone back and said that's too much, and it's come down to 5. I'm hoping that we can split the cost with Wicksteed, even though if you look at the tender, they've delivered the pathway that was tendered for and was agreed. So I'm asking under sort of like urgent delegated business whether I could use up to 5,000 to get the problem sorted out. Because I think because it's such a popular play area, we need to get this done, especially before the Easter holidays.
Right, Adrian, Vanessa.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Linda, look, I'm glad that this was mentioned. It was one of the things I noticed pretty much straight away. I was concerned about what the state of that path would look like after a few days of use. And if you go down now and have a look, it's all over the place. There are large stones, it gets kicked around, it's already sort of in the grass. And yeah, I was looking at, God, what's going to happen when we open the splash pad, because there's that gateway between the splash pad and the play area, and you just know that all that loose stonage is going to go into the actual splash pad itself. I think my personal recommendation would be to let you do what you need to do to fix the problem, because I think a lot of parents, their comments were they were a little concerned about it. It was the only thing that people were concerned about. Everyone else was so incredibly thankful for the facility that's been put in, but yeah, a few people have mentioned it. So I'm happy to, I don't know, whatever you need, a proposal for that to happen, or.
Yeah, Adrienne, do you want...
John was first.
Oh, was it? Sorry, John.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm invisible again.
Yeah, I know.
We've got to do what we've got to do. But this is why it's important that we properly examine all the tender documents before we make these decisions. It couldn't be more timely for me. So we've got to do what we've got to do. If Vanessa's proposed this, I'll second it. We've just got to get on and get that work done as quickly as that work can be done.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, Pat. I do think one of the issues is if you look at the pictures, it's a bonded surface. And I actually spoke to the contractor on site and asked him, and I was told it was going to be a bonded surface. So, and we did have a surveyor who was in charge of this. So I do think that absolutely we should be looking up to £5,000 to get it sorted out. But I think we need to go to our surveyor who was in charge of it and to Wicksteed to affray those costs.
Yeah. They are all involved, but my concern is getting this fixed.
Absolutely. By the Easter holidays, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, right. The proposal.
Oh, sorry, one more quick question for Linda. Yeah. Is that going to mean that the park will have to be closed for a certain amount of time while it's done?
Well, unless I can get them to do it through the night, maybe.
I'll stand there with my torch while they do it.
But they do understand the urgency of it, and obviously the need to get it fixed ready for the Easter holidays.
Okay.
Okay.
Right, so it's been proposed, it's been seconded. All those.
Can I just add where it's going to come from?
Yes, I was just going to ask that.
Surplus in the SIL and solar farm money, even though we've paid quite a bulk of it towards equipment in King George. So I would suggest that it's from that fund for now. We've got about 1,000 in that.
But we are looking at going to recoup those costs anyway. So
yes, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All those in favour? Great. We look forward to a report on that one then, Linda. Okay, now HR subcommittee, and I know that Jeff's got something to add to that, haven't you? 23rd.
We got our 4, have we?
Yeah. What's the next one?
No, we thought we had, that's January, isn't it? One on here.
No, 23rd of February. You said you chaired that meeting because I wasn't there.
I did.
And the minutes don't actually say that.
No, they don't.
Right.
Jeff's quite keen for it to be corrected. I actually didn't arrive until about 6:30, I think.
Okay, we'll you can amend that tomorrow night in the HR subcommittee meeting.
Okay, right. Okay. So other than that,
John speaking.
We just note them. Right?
John's got his hand up.
Yeah, John.
And Sue.
And Sue.
Thank you, Chair. I'm looking at the minutes for the meeting held 29th of January 2021. And I note that item 10/19 said that in light of the confidential nature of the information being discussed, staffing matters, the press public and councillors were instructed to withdraw. I'm wondering when our standing orders were amended to enable this. Whilst I am aware that NAUC guidance says that you can have separate standing orders for a HR or staffing committee to exclude elected members of the council from that committee. This council does not have a set of standing orders adopted that gives this power. So I'm therefore wondering what the basis on which elected members were being refused access to that meeting were, bearing in mind that they have been being given access to previous meetings.
Right, Linda, can you please sort this one out for me, please?
Actually, legislation dictates that members who are not appointed to a committee have no more right than a member of the public, especially so when it's a personnel or HR subcommittee. And it's good practice that all council isn't involved in HR subcommittee meetings because there could be an appeal against any decision that's made by the HR subcommittee. That is the reason. The practice started while I wasn't around back in the summer. And I did point out that sort of like the correct way. So even though it doesn't have to be in standing orders because that's what legislation suggests.
But it's not the guidance that's I saw on the NAUC site. Let me just find it again because I'm afraid this is an issue for me.
Right.
I see Vanessa's got a hand at the
Yeah, Vanessa.
Thank you, Chair. I've seen the NELK guidance as well, and I sent it. I've got it in a PDF that also clearly states that elected members, if they're not on a particular committee, are treated exactly the same as members of the public. And although you don't have to allow them to be able to speak at meetings, it's still good practice to do so. But when it comes to confidential session, they are treated as members of the public and therefore should not be allowed to continue. Now, I never had a problem with this at all, but the problem is, of course, that councillors should treat those confidential sessions exactly as is, confidential. The problem is those particular councillors don't know what confidentiality means and like to write letters to the Melksham News. And that's where the issue stands. And that's why the clerk has had to take the action that she's had to.
Right, has anybody got anything else to say about that before we move on?
Can I object to Councillor Fowler's comments about the councillors who were excluded from that meeting?
And Adrienne?
I think you can object as much as you like, Richard, but we all know that certain councillors wrote lots of letters in the summer breaching standing orders. And the sad factor is the monitoring officer says that breach of standing orders is not necessarily a breach of the code of conduct. A bit worrying, that, quite honestly. And I think that it's quite important that we protect our staff by only having the members of the HR subcommittee who are on that subcommittee. NAUC guidelines, that's the law, end of story.
Right, and Mike?
Thank you, Chair. Can I just ask if this principle will be extended to all committee meetings or just the HR subcommittee?
Should absolutely be for every single committee.
Yeah, it's just that at the HR subcommittee it became particularly important. Right, okay, we've all aired our views. John, do you want to speak?
Well, yes, it's the specific references are paragraph 77 and 78 of the NAUC guidance. And paragraph 77 stipulates that a council can either say members are treated as a member of the public or not. Now, we have never had to suspend standing orders for a councillor who is not a member of a committee to be able to participate. So, you know, if somebody who's not on ComDev attends ComDev, we don't suspend standing orders for that member to be able to participate. We allow them to do so. But if we're going to introduce this rule, we will have to do that because that is what the legislation says. Paragraph 78 then says that staffing committees may benefit from additional standing orders. So it quite explicitly says in paragraph 78 that additional standing orders are required if you're going to have your staffing committee to follow different rules than the remaining committees of the council. To move this item forward, we
Please.
can't achieve anything from what's happened previously. That's done and dusted. But can I make a recommendation that we ask the clerk if she could update or make recommended updates to our standing orders to come to the annual council meeting in May for the new council, that will need to ratify standing orders anyway, so that the standing orders that the council have properly reflect whatever the mechanism we want to have as a council for this, so that there cannot be any confusion.
Right, yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you, John. And Linda, can you please make a note?
Yeah.
And we'll sort that out when we all emerge on the other side, those of us that do. Thank you, John, for sorting that one out. Right. Moving on then, working group.
Chair, it's Sue.
Yeah, Sue.
Can I just ask a point of clarification in many ways? Looking at the 29th of January notes, 11/19, it's about the video recording facility and the fact that it's deleted once the officers have transcribed from that video recording. So my first question is, are we talking about the video being deleted, or are we talking about the audio recording being deleted, or are we talking about both? Because on a couple of occasions in the past year, I've actually asked for recordings because I forget what's said. You know, I've got a brain like a sieve, really, and I would have found it helpful, but the silence was deafening once I'd asked for these recordings, and they never did come to me. And I see that there's mention of GDPR, and I just wondered what the guidance is over how long recordings should be held before they are completely deleted and removed. So I suppose that's my question. What's the recommendation from GDPR? And then I might ask a supplementary once I get that answer.
Yeah, I think we're only talking about HR meetings here, Sue. Is that right, Linda?
No, the only true recording of a meeting, once the minutes are signed, is the minutes. And I can tell you that that is all a judge will look at if it ended up having to produce minutes to support council decisions.
Right.
It is good practice that any recordings of the meeting, whether video or audio, are deleted once that meeting has had the minutes agreed and signed by the chair of that meeting.
Right. But obviously it does have to go through a full council or something like that to be approved.
What? Sorry,
you can't. Yes, they've got to remain in place. The audio and visual recordings must remain in place until they've been passed by full council. Yeah.
Well, they don't have to, but it's good practice.
Right. So are we? Sorry, through the chair. So is this just relating to the HR committee, this policy that we've got, or is it relating to all committee meetings?
It relates to all committee meetings.
Committee meetings.
Well, of course, all these meetings now go on to the YouTube, don't they, Linda?
Yeah, and again, the YouTube recorded should be deleted after the minutes have been signed as well.
Oh, right. Okay. Right. Okay.
Okay. It's just
you
that.
Okay now, Sue?
Yeah, I'm fine, Chair.
Right. Lovely. Great. And Mike?
YouTube meetings are still available online from July.
Yeah.
Chair, thank you. So just to clarify from what's just been discussed, if I've understood it correctly, then that means that the audio or visual recording of any meeting will still be available to reference to until such time as the minutes have been approved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you.
After that.
Yeah. Vanessa?
Yeah, this more for Linda. How will it work eventually when we're allowed to go back into the chamber? And do you remember John put a proposal forward a little while ago about streaming our meetings? How will it work in regards to streaming because our meetings will then be obviously recorded. I mean, have we gotten that far, or is it too early to look at that right now?
There's a report in this agenda about live streaming the meeting.
Yeah. So will that also be subject to the same kind of thing where, I don't know, how long will that streaming be available for?
I think that only remains whilst the meeting's taking place.
So it's just going to be a live stream and then that's it, no recording?
But I don't know. That you need to ask David on that. I'm not.
Okay, sorry, jumping the gun, sorry.
Well, Richard, I see your hand up. Let David answer this question and then I'll speak to you, Richard. Okay. Mute, David.
Mute.
Sorry,
Hi.
Chair. When a meeting is live streamed, it is available more or less synchronously with the meeting actually happening to people who wish to view it. And it is then available on the website until such time as it is either taken out of publication or deleted.
Right, so what would the rules then be about how long that stays on the website for? Are we going to go with the same thing? So as soon as the minutes are adopted for that meeting, the live stream can then go?
Right. Okay.
Chair, just as a point of order, just because we're talking about this at great length, but I noticed that the minutes say that a recommendation needs to come to council for officers to draw up a policy. Would it not be more appropriate to discuss the detail of the policy once the draft policy is before us?
Yeah, you're right, John.
Thank you.
I was
going
thinking
to say
that it
that.
was going on a bit, but yeah. Richard, is this a quick point?
Just a quick point that the YouTube apparently are still available from June, so they haven't been removed.
Well, we haven't got the policy yet, Richard.
Yeah, that's true. Right, Linda.
I'm just going to say I wasn't at the meeting on the 29th of January. It doesn't actually need a policy because the process I've explained is actually what should happen.
Right, okay.
If we want it, obviously, in a policy, we can do one, but it isn't actually necessary. But
What you've explained, though, is different, for instance, than what Wiltshire Council do. So it's probably helpful if there's something that indicates, so that if we're not that Wiltshire Council are necessarily right, I have to say, but their policy is that they delete after 6 months.
right, yeah, it's yeah.
Public Eye will keep it online for 6 months and then remove it.
Is that what you think we should do?
I think we should have
time.
a policy. I think we should let officers draw up the policy, or we need to reject having a policy. But I don't think we should debate the contents of it now.
Right, okay. We'll do that then. We'll just let Linda draw up a policy. Yeah, and then we'll debate it at that particular point in time. Right, okay.
So we need to vote on that then, Chair, because it's a recommendation.
Yeah. So are you proposing that?
Actually, can I just say that you're only receiving the HR minutes, and then you shouldn't be talking about the accuracy or what's contained in them, really. You're just receiving the minutes, but
Yeah.
what's been said.
Yeah. Okay.
But there is a recommendation in the minutes to council
All right.
Yeah.
on 11/19.
Yeah, it should have been pulled out and be in the agenda.
See.
Yeah. Apologies.
So sorry, I'm getting confused now. So what are we supposed to be doing with this? Just accepting the HR subcommittee minutes? Linda? Is she frozen?
I'm I can't even see in the 29th.
It's on C. It's 11/19C to recommend to full council.
All right, okay. Yeah, that
Officers draw up a video file policy
Yeah.
which underscores the importance of deleting.
yeah. Okay.
So are we recommending that? Are you proposing it, John?
Well, that would probably be more appropriate coming from you as chair of HR. I wasn't
Okay.
at the meeting. I can't propose.
Yeah,
something
okay,
I wasn't-
right, okay, right. Well, I propose it then. Who's going to second? Thank you, Vanessa. All those in favour? Great, lovely. Right, so where are we now? CCTV working group to receive the notes held on the 12th of January and the draft notes for the 23rd. What pages are those? 109. So we're just noting those, are we? Does anybody want to say anything? Adrienne?
It's only really because we've got elections.
Yeah.
I think it would be better, rather than naming the councillors, just to say councillor for and then the 3 wards of Melksham. I think it would be a better way of putting it, only because it could be totally irrelevant in a couple of weeks' time. So it's the same thing, but it's a minor amendment.
Okay, right. So we just note all that then, yeah?
Well, yeah. David, are you happy to just make that minor change to the actual membership?
Yes, of course, that's fine. As long as Linda's happy with that, that's fine.
Yeah.
I think it's sensible.
Right, okie-doke. Right, well then moving. So do we have to accept the terms of reference?
Yeah, we need a resolution for that.
Yeah.
I'm happy to propose the terms of reference.
Yeah, okay, all those in favour? Thank you very much. To receive an update from the Town Council representatives in the steering group for the neighbourhood plan. That's still the same as the last time we reported on it, isn't it, Adrienne?
Can't remember the last time we reported on it, because I get confused between this and economic development. I have to be honest.
Only 3 weeks ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's the examiner's had all his questions answered, and we're now waiting for the examiner to come back to the steering group with his recommendations, and until then we're a little bit in purdah, I suppose.
We have to wait.
There's nothing much happening. We have to wait.
Yeah,
there's no change.
Yeah, so we just need to have another update, hopefully. Sorry, John?
Patsy had her hand up just then.
Oh, did you, Patsy?
Or were you just tapping buttons?
Have I got the wrong agenda? Because I've got 11.3 about the CCTV working group terms of reference.
Yeah,
we just voted for them.
Just done that.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were voting about the membership.
I said both, Patsy.
Both, sorry.
Terms of reference and membership.
Okay, I do apologise.
That's all right.
Yeah, it's okay, because it could all
I've lost the plot
in a month's time anyway. Yeah. Right, so we've done the update. We're just waiting. That'll be something that'll be on the next town council meeting. Perhaps then we'll actually have something to say, some conclusions. Right, Melksham Town Council policies to consider and approve new and revised policies. Okay, acceptable use. Yes, Vanessa, I was going to read them all out, but go on.
Yeah, before we get into this, because I appreciate all of these policies are very, very important, but again, not trying to pass the buck. We are only a few weeks away from the new administration coming in. Is it not more appropriate that this is something that's dealt with at the first council meeting for the new administration?
Yes.
Just a thought.
Patsy?
I've been reviewing all the town council's policies over the past couple of months or so. There are going to be masses of them, which is why we've chosen to, Linda and I spoke about it, and that's why we've chosen to bring them through in batches, if you like, rather than overwhelm you all with 30 or so policies to consider.
Yeah.
And I fully appreciate that. It's just there's just my personal opinion. I just wouldn't want to be making decisions that could just completely be changed by a new administration. And I think it's more appropriate for the new councillors to look at these policies than for us. Just my opinion.
Right, I've got Linda and Terry both.
If it's any help or consolation, these are sort of like standard across town and parish councils in a lot of cases. And usually policies of a council are sort of like inherited by a new administration anyway. This is just to start the process. I mean, if we listed all the policies at the beginning of the tenure of the new administration, it would be pretty overwhelming. I mean, obviously it's up to members what they want to do. If they're not comfortable approving them tonight, they can be held over.
What would happen if we just held them over and or what would happen if we made decisions about any of them, and then next May, when the new council are here, they could bring them all up again, couldn't they?
Well, absolutely they could, and all of the policies will be part of the induction pack anyway, so that all new members will see what the policies contain.
Yeah.
Would they not have to wait 6 months to bring it back?
Not in those circumstances. You can amend policies.
Right. Okay.
Sometimes legislation can change within 6 months of actually adopting the policy.
Yeah. Terry and then Adrienne.
I do feel that if we present to the new council, which will be very different to the councillors that are standing at the moment, because so many are not standing, they won't really be able to fully understand everything. I think it's asking a lot of them, of anybody, to be totally overwhelmed by this plethora of information. I think if we went with Linda's thought that if we agreed it now, and that if necessary, it will be presented to the new councillors in a pack, and then they can amend it if required, but they won't have to go into the nitty-gritty of it, because we will have done a lot of the work for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So what you're saying, Terry, is you would like us to go ahead and discuss these tonight?
Yeah, go on.
Let's hear what Adrienne's got to say for the moment.
I'm happy with all of them except for the acceptable use of emails, tablets and internet for councillors policy, which I would like to be referred back for more information, please, because there's nothing in it on the harassment of councillors. And I do think that there's a major issue on councillors being harassed, and how the town council can support councillors through that. I think it's really important, actually, because councillors are technically part of the employees of the organisation. I had that legally clarified for me, and therefore under work rules, it's up to the organisation, even though we're not paid, to actually protect councillors from harassment. And it's not in there. It's probably something which is only beginning to come to light in the last year, maybe. But I think it's really important. So with the exception of that, I think we ought to actually accept them all, but I would like that one to be referred back, maybe even to the SLCC, Linda, for some information about how other councils are dealing with harassment of councillors via email.
Okay, I can see Vanessa's got her hand up, and then John.
Thank you, Chair. Well, if we're going to be looking at this in depth, then there is one policy there that I just want further clarification on as well, and it's to do with the use of social media. And I get it, because obviously social media plays a huge part in our lives. A lot of councillors are quite savvy with how to use social media, and some perhaps don't even touch it. But where do we draw the line around what is acceptable usage of social media versus trying to perhaps squash freedom of speech? Councillors sometimes have their own councillor pages, which, they put very appropriate council stuff on there, updates, so on and so forth. And then councillors also have their own personal Facebook pages, which they should be allowed to use for their own personal use as well. So where is the line really when it comes to using social media around the fact that, yeah, you might be a councillor, but actually you're a person as well, and you have the right to say whatever's on your mind, because that's what freedom of speech is.
Big news at the moment. Right. Anybody want to make any comments about that?
Well, I mean, I want to two things, if I could, Chair. First of all, I actually agree with Adrienne on the point she's making, although I think it's a wider issue than purely just that particular policy. And I think and I don't know if this is what Adrienne was intending or not. So through you, Chair, and to a degree, this is a question for Adrienne. But I think the point that you're making is absolutely right. But I think that needs to be looked at across more than just the email policy.
Yeah.
In fact, social media that Vanessa's just been talking about is one of them. So whilst I think more work could be done on this, I think it would be a shame if we didn't adopt this as it stands tonight and then allow it to be built upon to put in additional. What we've got to, this does cross over though into the second point I was going to make in terms of what Adrienne was raising, what Vanessa was raising, which of course is what our policies with regards to particular media streams or whatever cannot do is replace a code of conduct. And some of the issues that we're talking about here are actually issues that should be in the code of conduct and not in a particular policy. In fact, and the reason for that, if I can say, is because if we have a policy that says thou shalt not whatever, but that is not in the code of conduct, the monitoring officer, when looking at a complaint that's made, may not take into account that point if it's not explicitly said in the code of conduct. So, and our particular code of conduct that we've got, I think, is actually very, very loose. So my suggestion would be that the points that have been made so far are all very valid points, but they are ones that should be brought into a review of our code of conduct and not into a review of policies about how effectively tools, because that's what these are, can and should be used. So I would recommend that we adopt these as they stand, because they are on the whole boilerplate policies that have been adapted to the needs of Melksham Town Council, and a good job I think has been done of that. But I think that I do believe, Linda, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think, is it SLCC or NOWC have actually now got a slightly more beefed up model code of conduct for tier 3 authorities. And perhaps what we should be doing is recommend that we explore whether we adopt that, or indeed even a strengthened version of that. Because just to close, I'd like to remind councillors that every town or parish council can have its own code of conduct. We don't have to use the one Wiltshire tell us to use.
Yes, I did actually circulate
last week
LGA's code of conduct and suggest that is adopted with the new administration.
That's what I got from that. There was a new one then.
Yeah, I will be reviewing and obviously might make some more additions to make it even more robust, in line with what I said this evening. But yeah, that is correct.
Okay, Adrienne.
Yeah, I'm happy to accept that we do accept them tonight, but I am going to put a proposal forward on the emails, and I'll explain why. It's partly to do with our system of Office 365, in the fact that you cannot actually remove a councillor from your inbox. You have to receive every email that they send, because it's an admin task which you are not in control of. And it's technical things like that. You can't block anybody. The first thing that everybody says to it, you can't, John, you cannot do it.
No,
honestly.
it doesn't work.
It does not work. I can assure you, David McKnight and I spent many hours looking to see how you can block another councillor. You are told when you think you're being bullied that you should actually remove yourself from the bully. You can't do that with Office 365. John, please, you really can't. You think you can.
Yeah, you can't.
You think you can, but you cannot. Okay? I can prove it to you. And so I would like to recommend that, because we use Office 365, we look into how councillors can be protected from bullying and harassment, and as sadly it is by other councillors, because of the system that we use. And I would like to put that as a recommendation, please. I'll then happily vote for it, as long as that has that recommendation in it.
Okay, is that okay, Linda?
Yeah, I've made a note of it, yeah.
Thank you. Vanessa?
I will happily second that. But yeah, John, basically what happens is you think you've blocked someone, but all it does is send the emails to your junk emails.
Yeah.
No.
So when you check your junk email, you still get subjected to the bullying and harassment.
No.
And so this is the problem.
What it is possible to do, and I'm happy to show David offline how this is done, it is possible using the web portal that we each individually have to see our email online, to set up email rules. And you can set a rule where every email from a particular sender, certain things happen to it. And one of the things that can happen to it is it gets deleted.
Oh, all right.
Okay, that is possible. I'm happy to show David offline how that's done so that we can train members, so that all members are aware. And Adrienne, if you wanted to sit on the end of the phone with me, I'll happily talk you through how to do that.
Well, I've actually had it talked through to me many times, John, because you know, it was a really big issue for me at the end of June last year. And in actual fact, David was the most helpful person going. I did actually write to the clerk and to the assistant to the clerk about the issue. They said they were taking it to the solicitor. Linda, I haven't pushed this. I haven't even asked you for a follow-up on it. But I did ask, and it was sent to our solicitors, and I haven't received a reply. So it would be, again, I think it's just, I'm not talking about it from myself. I'm talking about it from new councillors who are coming in May. I do think we need to make certain that they can't, you know, that there is a way of blocking the person who you perceive to be bullying you. That doesn't mean to say they are bullying you, but if you believe you are being bullied, it is very important that you block your abuser.
Okay, right, Vanessa, and then I think I'd like to wind this one up.
Thank you. Look, I do still want to second what Adrian is proposing, because yes, unfortunately, I've also had to speak to the police and the monitoring officer about certain aspects. And the first bit of advice which the police give is protect yourself, block the people from seeing your social media, so on and so forth. But yeah, how do you do that when you can't remove yourself from that situation? But actually, more than anything else, what I'd really love to see the new administration look at is making sure that whatever happens in the chamber stays in the chamber and that people don't get personal, okay? Because I think that's actually where we've gotten so wrong. Things have gotten really wrong over the past year or so. And so actually, if we just, you know, bring that back to reality, which is, you know, let's learn to respect each other again. And the new administration, you know, really making a really conscious effort of working with each other and making sure that whatever happens in the chamber stays in the chamber. I don't think you'll have these issues moving forward.
Right, thank you very much, Vanessa. Right, so remind me if I'm wrong here. John had proposed that we accept the
Chair. Sue's got her hand up.
Waving at you, Chair.
Oh, hello, Sue.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. I can't see, and probably it's not pertinent to this policy, I can't see anything there about training in the use of devices. And I think new councillors ought to be offered some form of training. I think I would have appreciated it when I joined, because I still struggle. So I don't want other councillors to experience what I've been through.
Yeah, right. Thank you, Sue. That's a very good point.
Just to clarify, Chair, and I'm speaking as a Microsoft certified professional here, I've just logged in and created a rule that blocked any emails that come from you to me would automatically get deleted.
Oh.
I'm going to remove the rule now because that would be a little rude. But my point is, it can be done, and I'm happy to show the Economic Development Manager how to do it so that he could inform any other staff.
And that needs to then be in our policy.
Right, I'm so pleased that we're still friends, John. Right, okay. So it was you that proposed that we accept this, wasn't it? And Adrian that seconded it?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, right, okay. All those in favour then. Thank you.
Against.
Sorry, did I hear somebody speak?
Against.
Oh, Richard, sorry. You abstain?
Against, please.
Oh, you're against. Right, Richard's against. Okay. The Spiritualist Garden report from David.
Thank you very much, Chair. Very late for the agenda, we've had a crucial update from the the solicitor for the trustees of the garden. It actually came in midweek last week. And the key thing that's come out of it, if you recall, at our last meeting in November, and the advice we had from there were two key issues that we talked through, discussed, and you determined were crucial in resolving what to do about the property. The key one was the right of access across the lane from King Street into the garden, and there was discussion around how that might be maintained. And a second issue was the wall between the garden and number 16 King Street. The solicitor's view was, in all likelihood, this was a party wall, and whilst we haven't been able to fully resolve that, one of the documents that came from the trustees' solicitor actually had hand annotated on it that wall was indeed a party wall. But I think perhaps the more crucial issue to you is, as you instructed me to go away and determine, was the issue about the access. It turns out that part of that lane is an unclassified public highway. It does not appear to be owned by Wiltshire Council, although Wiltshire Council can't be 100% sure, but they don't believe it is theirs. And their highways records don't indicate any ownership by Wiltshire Council, but they don't indicate any ownership by anybody. So the actual ownership is hard to determine. But the key thing is that up to a defined point, which is where the garages are in that lane, and past the point at which the access to the garden is there, the highway is unclassified public highway. Wiltshire Council do a walkover inspection of the lane on an annual basis, and they undertake to make the lane safe and passable should any issues arise from the walkover inspection. They have said that they are not under any obligation to improve the quality of the surfacing, simply to maintain what is there now as being safe and passable. So I think, and the other issue which has come forward, and I've asked the question, is does the owner of the Friends Garden have the right to open an access and maintain an access from the public highway into the garden? And the answer is yes, in principle. And if we were to apply to amend that access, we would have to go to planning and to the conservation people and put that through the planning system. The fact that there is an existing access, a historic access, which the council have acknowledged that, and providing if we were to take over the garden, providing we were looking to amend that, then we can continue to use it as it is now. I think the final issue that I would like to draw to your attention is that the solicitor for the trustees has raised concerns on behalf of the trustees regarding the time it's taken for this transaction to be completed. And I think, in fairness, some of the documentation I've seen goes back to 2012. So it's possible that they have a point. They would like to see the matter concluded. They would like to know the intentions of town council on this matter, because the trustees are already starting to consider how else and through what other routes they might gift the land if we don't want to take it. The town council solicitor has advised that he is suggesting a fee of £850 plus VAT, plus land registry and search fees not exceeding £75 to cover his work to date on this project and to effect the transfer into town council's ownership, if that is your wish.
Right. Terry, I'm sure you've got something to say.
Yes, I'm delighted that we've got to this stage, and I would hope that the council would agree to paying the solicitors for the finalisation of it. One of the things that's happened over the last month is Mr. Irving, from the one with the shared party wall, he's been somebody who we've not spoken to for years, and now we're spending a lot of time talking to him, and he's very amenable. So he's not raising any issues at all. So that is, I feel, is a good thing.
Mm.
So I would be delighted if this could be moved forward.
Right, Richard?
Can I thank David McKnight for his report, and can I move that we accept recommendation 6.1 in his report?
Absolutely, Richard, and I'll second it. Right.
Yep.
So has anybody got anything else to say? I mean, I've been, along with Terry, one of the people that has been really keen to accept this garden. Kathy?
Thank you. Yes, I'd just like to thank David and the other town council administrators very much for all their hard work on this project for us. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Kathy. Right.
Yep.
So do you want to propose it? Oh, you did, Richard, didn't you? Do you want?
Richard did.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So are we? So we're all agreed then that we're going to accept this and hopefully get it concluded, because the trustees are not the only ones who would like to conclude it. Right. All those in favour? Is that a cautious hooray?
I hope so.
You'll believe it when I say it.
Right. Yeah. Lovely. Right, we'll look forward to that, David. I'm sure that'll be another little celebration when that's
Chair.
sorted out. Lovely. Right, okay, as soon as we're allowed to, of course. Right, super duper. Where are we now? Item 15, future audio-visual requirements for town council meetings. Is this you, Linda, wasn't it?
No, this is a report by David.
Oh, another one by David, okay.
Yeah, it's me again, Chair. Thank you. One of the benefits out of the last 12 months or last 11 months where we've been holding meetings virtually and starting to stream them onto the YouTube channel is the increased engagement with the public in the activities of the town council. Now that's, I would suggest, is a good thing and something which is perhaps good to encourage. But once we start to meet physically again, then it becomes a bit more tricky, because under the current COVID guidance, the microphone system we have now for physical meetings would not be appropriate moving forward, because every councillor would need to have their own microphone, and you would need probably at least 2 microphones for members of the public who wish to step forward to speak, so that one can be being sanitized whilst the other one is being used. And of course, at the end of every meeting, every councillor's microphone would then need to be sanitized, ready for the next meeting. The system we have now is an old analog system. It works fine, but it is no longer available, and it will not integrate with the more modern digital systems. So effectively, this means that we would need to get a new microphone system for physical meetings. If we wanted to stream our meetings onto YouTube, we would also need cameras, and it's been suggested that at least 2 cameras will be required. They're not particularly cheap, and it is possible we might need to think about reconfiguring our meeting room configuration to make 2 cameras work for us. So the whole thing is predicated on a lot of suppositions at the moment. But the systems are not cheap, and that's the problem. I mean, I've had some indicative costs from Public Eye. I think John said they were the suppliers to Wiltshire Council, I think, a few minutes ago. They've been very helpful. They are suggesting that to bring in a value solution, which means that the microphones would not be wireless, they'd be wired together, and that would save us approximately £10,000, and would simply be a wired microphone with a push-to-talk button, and would have the free camera tracking technology built into it, which means that when you push to talk on the microphone, the camera swivels around and focuses on you. And that would normally be something you'd have to build in the software, but these systems come with this built in. I've asked them for a guide price, an indicative price for 22 microphones and speaker units with the camera tracking, with the central controller, 2 cameras, and a video capture unit in order to capture the video to put onto YouTube. And the indicative price is a smidgen under £20,000 plus VAT. I can see you wincing. It made me wince. It's not cheap. The other issue we would have is that the increased amount of technology would increase the time it takes to set rooms up, multi-use rooms up for meetings, and frankly will probably increase the likelihood of faults in the system. And I think that if we decide to go down this route with this or something similar, then I would suggest that we need to consider a dedicated room for council meetings. But given that you now have so many meetings in the evenings, Monday through to Thursday at least, during most weeks, it's getting increasingly difficult to see how we could hire out, say, the town hall upper room for other users anyway. So it might be worth considering a dedicated meeting space permanently with the equipment fitted in. Overlaying all this is the perceived likelihood that the Coronavirus Act will be extended, which will allow virtual meetings to be held for a further 3, maybe 6 months, who knows, but extended from where we are today. At the moment, if nothing else happens, from the 7th of May, we will need to hold physical meetings. And the cost of putting this onto a live stream is going to be high. Even if we decided, or you decided rather, not to go with a YouTube link, we're still in a position where we're going to have to look at increased numbers of microphones, which means buying a whole new system. So that's not going to be cheap either, because the problem is, if we do then, as we do now, effectively share microphones, then it would need sanitizing between every speaker, and that would be a major time constraint on meetings that you hold. So that's where we are. In terms of installation of a system, the sort of time scales that has been talked about is a month to 6 weeks. So if it is your wish to continue live streaming to YouTube, then we would need to make a decision, fairly promptly. My feeling is that there is a likelihood that the legislation will be extended, allowing us to hold remote meetings for a further period of time. And really, I would just like your guidance as to your thoughts on this and how you'd like to proceed.
Linda.
Sorry, just sort of clarify. If we do go back to live meetings, we don't have to live stream. So there is that decision the council needs to decide if it wants to live stream its meetings. Also, believe it or not, it's not unlawful to hold a virtual meeting. And I've been discussing this on my Clerks Network about what we do if this legislation isn't extended. And until there's case law, we could continue to have remote meetings, even if that legislation isn't extended, because we've interrogated the Local Government Act, and nowhere does it say that virtual meetings are unlawful. We have to, by law, have an annual meeting. So if the legislation isn't extended and COVID rules won't allow us to have an annual meeting physically, then a lot of councils are taking the they're taking the view that we'll have to have a virtual. And so I just wanted to put that to you. We don't have to go to live stream. We could just use our recording. This was just something that was proposed at a council meeting back in September.
Okay, Vanessa, John, and then Terry.
Thank you, Chair. So quick question, Linda. So say the new administration can, actually go back into the chamber. How does it work with public participation? Are we only allowed a certain amount of people in there as well? How do we manage that? 50 people could turn up.
Well, it's unlawful to refuse anyone access to a council meeting because the public have a right.
Yeah, of course. So how do we manage, the number of people that might show up?
You can't. And of course, it depends what the regulations are in terms of coming out of lockdown, how many people can meet in a place, in one room.
Yeah.
We could have meetings in King George.
You could do, yeah, an outdoor meeting. The other thing I think I just wanted to say more than anything else, Chair, I understand, obviously, Zoom has been great and it's been a lifesaver for us. But I do think that's something that Zoom just can't replace and is so important for the new administration in terms of their bonding process as councillors is to be in the chamber together. Yeah. I think it's such a huge difference in how we treat each other, how we speak to each other when we're in front of each other versus when we're sat behind a camera in the safety of our own homes. So I hope that the new administration can get into the chamber together because I think it's so important for them.
Yeah. Right, before we move on, Jeff, can you just take over the meeting for a moment for me, please? It's John next and then Terry, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. I think it's likely that this legislation isn't going to be being renewed now. It's so late in the day, even the time to get it through Parliament to renew it would be tough. So I think we might be having to look at either having to continue with virtual meetings or we'll be back in somewhere where our meetings will be held. The questions that I've got are, the prices that you've given us this evening are obviously for the public eye solution, which is the Rolls-Royce solution of being able to have the targeted cameras point to where people are and all the rest of it. We are, of course, just a small little parish council, town council. And the other alternative is that we have a microphone system. And I think if I heard you correctly, what you've basically told us is if we're going to be back in wherever for our meetings, whether we like it or not, we've got to replace the microphone system. Whether we buy the cameras or not, it's another matter. But to have a COVID-safe meeting with us all in one room with microphones, we need new wireless microphones, so there's enough microphones for one each. So it would be interesting to know what the cost of those microphones minus the cameras and all of the highfalutin technical kit is. Through you, Chair, I wonder if David might want to answer that before I conclude.
Okay, David.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, your assessment is right. My understanding from talking to Public Eye and to Bosch, because I've been talking to Bosch directly, is that the cameras are around £2,000 to £2,500 a piece. So you'd be looking at taking perhaps £5,000 off the cost plus the video capture. So perhaps say £6,000 off the cost. The microphones are actually quite expensive.
Yeah. But you see, that's where I was coming to, which is whatever happens then, we're talking about a £14,000 or £15,000 cost to put a fit for purpose microphone system in for the new council to use. And that's, whether we like it or not, that's a cost that the council is going to have to face at some point in the maybe not immediate, but certainly very short-term future. So if I might, I would suggest the decision as a council that we need to be making is, if we acknowledge the fact we may not like it, we may say we're not going to do anything about it, but if we acknowledge the fact that it's going to cost us 15,000 in round terms for the microphones, and then what we do camera-wise on top of that is where we've got flexibility, and then we can be talking about, do we want to have the sort of high-end system like we have at Wiltshire Council, which is the public eye system. We've got it in the committee room for our select committee meetings, where when you turn your microphone on, the camera shoots to whatever microphone it is that's turned on and picks you up to speak to you. Do you want to have that, or do you just want to have a camera at the top that's just showing the whole room, which isn't featuring on the person who's speaking, but at least is giving some visual representation for what is happening? We don't have as big a chamber as there is at Wiltshire Council, so it's slightly less of an issue in that respect, although not ideal. So what I would like to suggest this evening is that I think we do need to seriously look at these microphones, because whether we are going to start our meetings in May or whether we are going to start them in the autumn, the advice that was coming on from the chief medical officer on what I saw on the television on Public Health yesterday was that the social distancing and the sanitizing rules are likely to be with us for 2 years. So we're not going to be able to put this off for 2 years before making that decision. We will definitely be back in the chamber longer than 2 years. So I'm going to move, if I might, the beginnings of a resolution, whoever is chairing again now, that I think that at the very least we need to be looking at the microphones. We've been talking about this almost as long as I've been on the council, and these Bosch ones, these current wired ones we've got, have gone through a number of times of working and not working. I remember, Terry, I think you remember when we had them serviced and then they kind of got better again, then they got worse. Sometimes they don't, So I think replacing them, that time has come. The debate, I think, this evening isn't do we replace the microphones. The debate is, do we do the microphones and a very cheap one camera pointing at the whole thing, which could just be a webcam and could be a real bodger job, or do we say we'll spend an extra £5,000 and put the proper cameras in to allow us to move on to that next stage?
Okay, thank you, John. It's Terry, and then I see Patsy's got a hand up.
Right, I actually agree with everything that Vanessa and John have already said, but I do think the new council would benefit hugely by physically meeting, because you gain a huge amount, and it's the camaraderie that is necessary to unite the council together. It's by the slight look of sort of, you can't really be saying that, or support or something that you're getting from other councillors. The number of public allowed in a meeting is going to be a problem. I think somehow or other we've got to go along with that. But definitely we need the new mics. We've had them not working, and the problems to set them up are considerable. I like the thought of just using the hall Monday to Friday, Monday to Thursday evening, just for meetings, and have it set up. If we have to use the hall for other events, one setup a week is far preferable to 3 or 4 setups a week. Yes, let's get the mics. Let's look at the cameras later, but I think we owe it to everybody to have the best equipment that we can. And if we have the money, I think it's something that we should do. Thank you.
Patsy?
Could I ask you, if you're not speaking, to mute yourselves, please? I'm getting a little bit of feedback and it's making it rather difficult to hear when I'm doing the notes. Thank you.
Right, is there anybody else want to say anything about microphones and cameras? Oh, Vanessa, and then David.
In terms of the cost or the funding for this, where are we looking at getting this from?
Through you, Chair, this would be would have to come from reserves.
Right. Okay. Is that all you wanted to say, David?
No, what I was going to ask was, when it comes to the use of the room and the problems you've had with the Bosch microphones in the past, I think that the more you put them out and strip them out of the room again and put them back, it invites connectivity problems over time, because if the connections start to wear. I do wonder whether a dedicated chamber now is something you may wish to think about, and it is permanently set up, because to move to a wireless microphone system will be considerably more expensive than the wired system. The cost that we've been looking at, the indicative costs, are for a wired system, and it concerns me the problems you've had in the past could be more due to the constant loading in and stripping out of the equipment.
Okay, John.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I almost can't believe I'm about to say what I'm going to say, because I'm normally trying not to spend any money if we can possibly help it. But we are going to have to dive into reserves to do this. I think the reality is that I actually 100% agree with Vanessa. I think if we can get the new council meeting in person, that would be ideal. I don't think it's beneficial to anybody having these remote meetings. We've had to do it. There's been no choice about it. But I think that the time is coming where the legislation no longer stipulates that we have virtual meetings. I recognise that it's going to become a grey area in law as to whether we're allowed to have them or not, and it's whether we want to risk being a test case or not. We have to remember, of course, initially we don't have to use the upstairs of the town hall, and we do have a considerably larger space in the assembly hall where we would be able to lay out the council and put a reasonable amount of socially distanced seating that the general public would be able to sit in, probably only talking a dozen or so members. But if we were also, and I think this is the point, if we were also making it possible for people to be able to observe the meeting online, then that might reduce the number of people who want to come and actually physically be present. So my gut instinct actually is, if we're going to do this, let's just do it properly from day one, rather than try and do it on the cheap and then later on be bemoaning it. And I actually would suggest we go for the wireless solution. The wireless solution does give us flexibility. Our problem will be if we take the town hall and we say the town hall is going to become exclusively a council chamber, and it cannot be used for other purposes. There are a number of organisational groups who admittedly currently aren't utilising it, but have in better times utilised it, who we would be turfing out and would be having to help find alternative accommodation for. And we would also be losing that income. And if you take that loss of income into account, then actually I think the additional cost of going to the wireless solution doesn't become so eye-watering, because you have to factor the loss of income against the money that you've spent. And the cost of the microphones we've got, it's about right. I remember when we bought the 2 new sets of wireless microphones for the area boards, I think it was £42,000 for the 2 sets. So that sounds about right in terms of the cost that David's talking about for the ones for council. So my gut feeling on this is actually that we buy the wireless set with the cameras and just get it done on day one. When you piecemeal things, you never really finish it. You never quite get things done. If we're going to have to dig into the savings to do it, let's just do it.
Yeah. Vanessa, and then we'll wind up on this one.
Thanks. Linda, just to clarify, you know, the assembly hall, it's a nice big space, but can we actually hold meetings there because alcohol is served on the premises?
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
We can. Is the bar open?
It won't be open. No. You can't do that.
Can it be open?
No.
Right. Right. So if I've got this right, we need to make a decision on this tonight. Is that what everybody is thinking? Is that where everybody is? David?
Yeah, I think, Chair, having you listen to the conversation this evening, I need to be able to really tighten down the quotes that we've got now and get 3 competitive quotes for this system. So I think that is my recommendation to you for the next stage.
Yeah, and then bring them back for the first full meeting.
Sorry.
Yeah, okay, Linda.
Sorry, can I be a bit pedantic? I think we need a decision about maybe give an upper limit for delegate to David to actually proceed to enact this using a system, you know, based on what he's researched already, but getting 3 quotes to comply with financial regs and see what comes up. And I think if you give it a ceiling limit, David, of whatever the recommendation was or whatever you suggested,
20?
or because if it comes back again, we're going to be another 3 months down the line before we set this up.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just.
Yeah, that's okay. Thanks, Linda. John?
Chair, can I move a motion?
Yes, please do.
I'd like to move a motion that the council adopts a wireless system with batteries as outlined in paragraph 5.2 in the officer report. It's on page 17 of the agenda supplement. That we delegate to, but I think we have to delegate to the clerk. The clerk can then instruct an officer to, but we delegate to the clerk that a maximum budget of £28,000 plus VAT may be spent, but she needs to go through a relevant procurement process. But we recognise that we will need at least the microphone side of this equipment, but preferably this equipment installed as early as possible for the new council to be able to meet. I so move.
Okay, Mike.
Quite happy to second that motion.
Thank you. Right. Yeah. Okay. All those in favour? Yeah.
I'm abstaining, Chair.
Okay, Sue. Thank you. Vanessa, I can't see anything from you.
Yeah,
I mean, I think we've got to do it at some point. We're gonna have to do it.
Yeah.
Well,
John's right. If we're going to do it still properly, let's set this new council up.
Yeah. Kathy? Okay, thanks. I think that was unanimous.
No, my vote's against.
Oh, sorry, Richard. Sorry, Richard.
My vote is against.
Okay, thank you, Richard.
And Sue abstained.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can see that it's something we're going to have to do. We're just going to have to bite the bullet and get on with it, aren't we? Right. Okay. Parking redemption scheme. David again.
Thank you, Chair. The parking redemption scheme, when it was the rebate, if you like, was for 1 hour of parking charges, we weren't getting a high level of public uptake. We've extended it to 2 hours, but all the various lockdowns that our shops have been suffering, the uptake again is very, very low. My recommendation is that we need to stick with it, but it is going to require personal selling into the shops, because what's become very clear is that for this system to work, retailers need to understand that they need to sell this in as a loyalty system to their customers, as a way of binding the customers to them. And admittedly, they don't have to buy in order to get the rebate, but it is an option for the the retailers to form a stronger, loyal relationship with their customers, and that, as we all know, will eventually end up in higher levels of business. So I think this needs to become part of a package to reopen the town post-COVID, and I say it needs to be sold, personal selling, to the retailers. I've tried to do it in other ways, and it's just not working, and the public are not taking it up either.
Right, okay. I've forgotten what I was going to say now. Yeah, right. Terry. Oh, sorry, that's John. It was John. Yeah. Sorry, it was John. Yeah, I covered it with the message.
Right.
And then
so
Terry.
which of us is speaking, Chair?
Sorry?
Is it me or Terry?
Yeah, it's you first, then
Me.
Terry.
Right. Okay. I absolutely agree we need to extend this again. We keep having a lockdown every time we put this into place. What I would like to ask, though, is actually that we use some of the funding that we've not spent, but that we have budgeted for this, actually to increase some of our marketing on it. I do think that, I mean, we're to congratulate the fact we've now got 17 retailers rather than one retailer participating in the project. That's jolly good news and absolutely in the right direction. But we still have a situation where actually the majority of people who live in Melksham or visit Melksham have no idea that this scheme is in place. So we need to look at how we can improve the marketing on this, maybe through some advertising in the Melksham News of it, maybe through improved signage that we've got in our car parks. And I know we have some, but perhaps we could enhance that further. And actually, one of the things that I have noticed when I drive into Corsham, they've got a bit on their Welcome to Corsham signs now that makes a thing about two hours free parking in our car parks. And I wonder whether that's something that we could look at, whether we could add that onto our lovely new signposts that we've got on the entry points into the town, so that we could really promote this scheme. I think it is a fantastic scheme. I think that it has huge potential. I just don't think we've had the opportunity to tap into it fully yet.
Right, thank you, John.
So I'm moving the recommendation that we extend it.
Yeah, thank you. Mike?
No.
Oh, sorry, Terry, and then Mike.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Terry. Sorry, Mike.
Thank you. I would second John's recommendation. It is more advertising. The public really don't know about it. I mean, very often people have come into the Tourist Information Centre and said, this parking scheme, how does it work? So, they are aware that there is a scheme, but they don't know exactly how it works. Maybe the notices need to be a little clearer or something, but we've got the money in the thing. I don't know that I would actually go along and putting bits under our nice new road signs. We had enough problems getting those there in the first place, but certainly in any of the machines, it needs to be very clear what is available.
Yeah, David, have you got something to add to that?
I firmly believe, having spoken to a lot of retailers over the months on this, that the best marketing solution we can get for this is for the retailers to market it to their customers, because the benefits really are to the retailers, because they will get a much greater loyalty of customers. So really what we need to do, is my view, is for the retailers to say to their customers, oh, where have you parked today? Well, I parked in King Street car park. Well, next time you come in, bring the ticket and we'll give you the parking fee back up to 2 hours. And if you can get the retailers to sell it to the customers and the customers go in, getting signage in the car parks is actually quite difficult because Wiltshire Council will not allow us to put it on the machines.
Yeah.
And that is a problem for us, which is why I started to look down, well, can we get the retailers to market this? Because we're doing it in support of the retailers, and this is part of their participation.
Yeah. Mike?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I was actually just going to make the same point that John made, which is about the caution, the signs on the approaches into the town, and it is actually quite eye-catching and it does grab your attention. So I think that is a good option to pursue.
Adrienne.
Yeah, sorry. I just think that it is a very good option, Mike. I don't think they ought to be on the new signs, but without any doubt at all, we ought to be getting some big, really nice big signs up saying 2 hour free parking and how to do it. They don't need to go onto our lovely signs, but there's plenty of other places that they can go to.
Okay, Vanessa?
Yes, I was actually going to ask, with this scheme potentially being extended, is it possible, especially with the markets that we are planning on really sort of enhancing, that we can also offer that to, I guess, to incorporate with the market stall holders as well, so that, we're encouraging people to come into town for the markets too?
Yeah, it can be part of the advertising, couldn't it, David?
No, and I meant like, if you're a stall holder, that you've also got the capacity to do the redemption as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They can be included.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That might be a better way of getting word around as well, because people take more notice of something that doesn't come along every day, don't they? It's sort of unusual, and they take more notice of it. Anybody else want to make a comment before we move on with this one? Right. Who was it proposed it? John, and Mike seconded it. Is that right?
I think it was Terry.
I think Terry seconded.
Terry. Okay. Right. All those in favour? Lovely. Thank you very much. Right. Right. SIDS issues. I think Patsy's going to give us an update. Is that right?
This is a report by Jeff.
Oh, by Jeff, right, okay.
The background to where we are, it's now in the House.
Oh yes, I read it, yeah.
And I think I wanted to give council the option to go ahead and purchase using reserves rather than wait until this is settled with the former supplier. Could be some months, and I just think we've heard.
Yeah, I'll second it. All those in favour?
Right, Jeff did have his hand up.
Jeff? Yeah. Oh, there you are. Okay, you've moved. You were down in that corner a minute ago.
No, I was just going to ask, how did we end up with this company in the first place? Because I did a bit of research on them, and the reviews on their website is terrible. I mean, I don't know, and from parish councils as well. So I'm just a bit concerned why we picked them in the first place.
Sorry, I can't help you there. Terry? No?
Neither can I, to be honest.
Well, it was 18 months ago that, of course, we originally were ordering from them, wasn't it? Because they've taken so long, and I think that in the last year or so, they've gone somewhat downhill in terms of what they're doing. So, personally speaking, I think it's highly likely that they're going to disappear. But
yeah, the likelihood of us getting our money back doesn't seem very likely, does it?
Not all of it.
Not all of it, anyway. No. Okay, so sorry, I'm Vanessa, and then we'll vote.
Yeah. Thank you. Are we also able to leave some sort of a review on our experience as well?
Well, I'm in touch with a lot of clerks, and let's just say I wouldn't recommend them. So it's not been good for them, and like Jeff said, a few other parishes have had issues. So
you know, such a lot. It's basically the cost of what we want to do with the new cameras and microphones. You know.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I mean, in view of the fact that we've got legal issues pending, it would be better if we left it at that, I think, for the time being. Yeah. Okay. So now I've lost track again. Did we vote on that?
No.
No.
Okay, well, let's vote on that then. All those in favour? Yeah, and that'll make lots of residents happy. Right, okay. 18, deferral of movement working group consultation, to approve the deferral of the consultation as recommended by Gerald Millward Oliver.
Move.
Yeah, okay. I'll second that. Until after the May elections. All those in favour? There's nothing going to happen between now and then anyway. Right, thank you very much.
At the time, we were concerned about the bypass and the publicity surrounding. Now we're in Purdo, it just seems sensible to wait.
Yeah. Right. Item 19, to note that at their meeting on the 25th, Melksham Without Parish Council resolved to transfer the SIL monies received so far. And I won't read it all. I'm sure you've all read about this. And it was noted that any transfer would take place after the Community Government's Review came into force from the 1st of April and would be subject to legal agreement. So we just need to note that. Is that right, Linda?
Let's just update, let the council know.
Yeah, okay, that's great. I'm glad we've got that one sorted out. Number 20, Dorset and Wiltshire Fire and Rescue Authority, draft community safety plan, to note the consultation period. Does anybody want to make any comments about that?
Members can obviously take part in the consultation themselves.
Yeah.
So it's just,
Yeah, okay, right. Well, we'll leave that one, that you can just go on and make your own comments if you wish to. Right, confidential session. Is this where I suspend